Hey y'all, welcome back to Welcome to My World. I feel like I picked another appropriate song tonight, and I'm just on this kick of picking thematically appropriate material to start off the show with. So we're going to be doing another before we go to bed type show. I haven't had a ton of time in the mornings to crank an episode out either on YouTube or here. So please bear with me, since this is, the best I can do for right now. I'm sure that in future I will be able to do some good driving into work, taking the train into work, podcasts, and YouTube videos. So for now, hang in there, bear with me, and feel free to listen to this on your own time, whenever it's easiest for you. So we're going to talk tonight a little bit about narcissistic and sociopathic family members. Now, I happen to be of the mind that it doesn't matter whether it's a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle. I don't think it matters who it is. I think the thing that really matters is how it is affecting you. And if this relationship is affecting you negatively in any way, if this person is crossing your boundaries or pushing your buttons or treating you disrespectfully or inappropriately on any level, it's not okay. I'm just bottom lining it for you. It is not okay, it's not acceptable, and it's certainly not something that you should learn to put up with. I think that there is a bit of a sort of a stigma out there regarding cutting people out of your life. Now, I want to just give you a quick PSA on that. I am certainly not one of these like gurus out there suggesting that anybody who looks at you the wrong way is somebody who's toxic and thinking bad thoughts at you and you should cut them out of your life immediately. Absolutely not. That's not the case. I don't think that's the best way to handle any problem, but I think that it's very easy to tell who is, just maybe a little bit of a Debbie Downer, maybe somebody who's going through a hard time themselves and they're just not handling it well, versus who's an actual toxic individual. And of course, all narcissists and all sociopaths are toxic individuals. Now, are all toxic individuals cluster B? No, of course not. There are people out there that are who are toxic, and yeah, they don't fit into the cluster B spectrum, and that's okay. It's still okay to draw your boundaries with those people, but I just want to kind of let you know, give you that caveat that it's really not, this is not something where I'm advocating that you just go crazy and cut everybody out of your life who you don't like, the look of. Maybe you don't like the sweater that they wore one day or something. Yeah, don't go crazy, because that's called burning bridges. That's called karma. Something called karma is going to turn around and bite you in the ass later on. So, just a little precursor, a little FYI before we get started talking about narcissistic and sociopathic family members. And apologies for the noise. Apparently my cat is having an excellent time playing with her toy and just decided that right now was the optimal time to do it, which is something I should know, because it's, of course, like 10:30 at night. So this is the time that the cats are going to go crazy. So apologies for that level of noise. What else can I do to prove to you that I'm a real person living a real life, right? Except have my cat go absolutely apeshit with her toy in the background. So thank you for tuning in, and we are going to get started right now, and thank you so much for bearing with me with that short PSA. So I do want to have you guys keep that in mind going forward. I certainly don't want you cutting people out of your life left and right and using, cluster B or narcissism as an excuse. That's really not an acceptable way to be. It's just not a good way to behave. It's not a good way of thinking to adopt, and it's not respectful to yourself or anybody else. So that being said, there is such a thing as a toxic person, as we discussed. A toxic family member. And when you're dealing with somebody in your family who has set their sights on you and is targeting you, first and foremost, I want you to take heart and just remember that you're not the only person that's being targeted. If they're targeting you, they're targeting other people. And I think the thing that really makes this sort of a different animal, the whole narcissistic family member situation, is that, like I said, you're not going to be the main target. They are going to abuse other family members. Now, they may be targeting you or someone else in your family more or less than they're targeting everybody else, but they're not going to target only one person. It's just not going to happen, because family is a trigger for narcissists and for sociopaths and for toxic and cluster B individuals. They are not going to target just one person and leave everybody else alone. To them, family is kind of a handicap, I would almost say. I would say that to them, family is a threat, okay? Now, I want you to abandon your way of looking at this for just a moment and try to sort of put on the hat of the narcissist for a minute, because empathy is our friend when it comes to figuring out, why these people do what they do and to try to combat their negativity. So I want you to just put on their hat for a minute. Just try to put it on. It's not going to fit right on you, but at least you can get an idea of what it looks like in the mirror. So I want you to think about your family. Now, you may have a great family. You may have not the best family experience. Either way, you're probably going to admit that your family, i.e., the people you grew up with as a child and the people that surrounded you when you were growing up, know you on a different level in a different way than other people know you, right? It's just like that sort of circle of relationships that we've talked about before. Family is the inner circle. They're the inner sanctum. And everything else kind of moves out from there, whether it be your parents, whether it be your children, whether it be your siblings. Family is the inner circle and the inner sanctum, okay? So what do people in your inner circle know about you that others don't? Now, I'm not talking about national secrets and horrible affairs or whatever, that you've murdered somebody. No, I'm not talking about, family secrets that would be featured in a Agatha Christie novel or something. I'm talking more about, your quote unquote moments of weakness. Who but your family would see that, right? When you were down and sick, when you said something really stupid, when you had to have surgery, whatever, when you were really aggravated and angry, when you had that bad breakup that nobody else knows about, when you went through that phase where you really liked French films, I don't know, these things that nobody else would really know about you. Maybe you went through a phase when you were 18 or 19 when you thought you were going to grow up to be an astronaut, and who but your family would remember that and kind of tease you about that. These are the things, again, not big secrets that would be written into an Agatha Christie novel, but these are the things which narcissists feel, can hurt them almost. These are the things that narcissists are afraid will get out there into the world and start circulating. Now, to be totally honest, I don't particularly think that many people would care that I had an obsession with She-Ra, Princess of Power, when I was 7. But to a narcissist, that would just be devastating. That would be extremely upsetting. That would be horrible. I don't think that many people would care about the made-up language that my dad and I had. I just don't think people would care. But the narcissist would find that to be something that would cause them almost to feel wounded if other people found out that they were an actual human and they had childhood experiences before they were this quote-unquote fully formed adult. And to them, that is you, if you're their family, that is you having power over them. You have this power over them, and you very likely have the ability to see through them in a way other people don't. And this is something that is just blatantly obvious to them. To you, it might not be. Well, hopefully now it is. To them, that is something that absolutely, causes them to lose sleep. Yes, it causes them to lose sleep. It causes them to obsess. And this is obviously not something that would bother a normally functioning person, somebody with a normally functioning frontal lobe of the brain. It isn't something that would bother you or I. But to a narcissist, to a sociopath, family could be their downfall. Family could be their demise. And so who are they going to lash out at but family? Do you feel me on that? To get where I'm going on that. So you just happen, by luck of the draw, lucky you, to kind of fall into their sights. You just happen to fit between each of their sights, and there you are in the middle of the target, and, what do you do? Well, I'll tell you what you can do. And we've talked about this before, but I've gotten a couple of questions lately about this, and this has been a hot topic of discussion. So I just want to kind of discuss this again, because it seems to be something that really comes up for a lot of my clients, a lot of the people that write in, a lot of my friends, and it's an important topic, and it's something that really bothers a lot of people. I think it's really the cause of a lot of sleepless nights for us, for those of us who are targets or have been targets. My gosh, this person is my family member. And of course, that comes with a whole host of excuses. Oh, well, I should give it another chance. Blood is blood. Family is family after all. You don't just write off family. You don't just throw family down the drain. You can't just flush family away. Well, I'm going to tell you that although you can't pick your family, you can pick who you keep in your life. So you can't pick who is a blood relative, but you can definitely pick who you keep in your life, and that's the upside to all of this. So how do you go about doing it? Well, there are a couple of different options that you can take, and there are a couple of different philosophies you can utilize. So one of the major philosophies out there, and this is pretty much going to apply to anybody who happens to come in contact with the narcissist or narcissists in their life at any time. This is something that's going to affect anybody who ever has to deal with a narcissist and who wants to do so in a healthy way. Because, of course, you can't avoid every narcissist. You may decide to cut your family member out. You may decide to go gray rock. You may decide to do a connection contract. It's up to you. But if you do talk to them at all or run into them on the street or God knows what, you are going to have to decide what you want to do. And if that includes interacting or talking with them, you're going to need this method, which is the gray rock method. I don't like the name of this method because, I think it's a little far-fetched. It's a little far-fetched. I would almost call it like the boundaries method, just, keeping appropriate boundaries. But okay, gray rock. Yeah, all right. I guess people use this terminology because keeping someone at a distance while still being as respectful as possible, conjures a rock that cannot be moved or shades of gray. I think it's a little far-fetched, but I think that the policy itself works fairly well. And essentially, if you're going to assume, you're going to be real with yourself. You're going to say, yeah, I probably am going to run into this person at some time, even if I do my best to stay the hell out of their way. So when I do run into them, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to be respectful to them. Yeah, it's hard to do when they're not respecting you, but I'm going to be respectful to them. I'm going to shorten my amount of time that I spend with them. I'm going to make sure that anything they say to me that is provocative on any level, I'm going to make sure that what they say is not met with a reaction, but a response. So, for instance, if somebody says, Dominique, you just stole money from the family, I might say, that's a really interesting accusation you've just made. I wonder what kind of proof you've got to back that up. But gosh, right now I just don't have time to go over it. So I'm going to wish you a great afternoon. Have a good one. Peace out. And I'm going to walk out the door. So that's a good method. It's a good method for dealing with the person right now, right in front of you right now. Is it a good method long term? Well, in that it doesn't give them narcissistic supply, yes, but you're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater on that. That's the major con of this. The pro is, yes, it eliminates narcissistic supply, and another pro is that it shows the narcissist or sociopath that you're not a good source of supply for them to try to develop. Like we talked about, they try to develop sources like CIA or FBI people would do, like a confidential informant almost. So they develop sources of supply for narcissistic, and I say sociopathic supply too, as well as developing sources for information about their targets, who are called what now? Say it with me, flying monkeys. So, yeah, that's great that you're kind of cutting them off at the pass, but their BS is still affecting you. So, like I said, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Don't ignore yourself in all of this, my friends. That's kind of the reason that you're doing all of this. So don't ignore you. Don't ignore your needs and your boundaries and the respect that you deserve as a human being, because that isn't, you want this person to respect you or at least treat you with respect. How can they if you're not respecting yourself? And I'm sorry, but you're not respecting yourself when you do that. So I happen to think that although you can choose to do the gray rock method and only the gray rock method, I do happen to think that it's a good add-on method, but it's not. Okay, it's a good add-on to that cheeseburger you ordered, but you ain't going to eat it alone for dinner. If you feel me on that, you see what I'm saying there. Okay? It ain't going to fill you up. You're not going to eat it for dinner. It's like an appetizer or a side or something you'd put on top of your sandwich, but it ain't the main course. So I do have to say that I sort of diverge from other psychological and mental health and wellness and coaching, yada, 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 professionals, in that I think gray rock is not the optimal main method that you should be affecting when dealing with a narcissistic or sociopathic individual, particularly a family member. I happen to think that gray rock, like I said, is a good add-on. So don't get me wrong, it is. But you've got to respect yourself in all of this. If you don't, then you've just kind of exchanged one prison cell for another, right? Maybe you've got better meals and a little bit more light in this prison cell, but it's still a prison cell. So if that's what you feel works for you, all the best to you. And if that's really worked well for you, I would like to hear about it. So far, I have not met a client that I have helped that has either had gray rock work 100% for them, and that's the only method they affect, nor have I met a client who has been displeased with my suggestion of a couple of the other methods I'm going to suggest. Okay, so the next method, the next sort of step up, and this is something that this is my go-to thing. Like, of course, I add on gray rock, but my go-to way to deal with narcissists and sociopaths, if and when the situation presents itself, whether they be family or somebody who's not a relative of mine, I like to utilize the sort of connection contract method. Now, if this is somebody who is, I don't know, a boss of yours at work, this might not be the way to go. You might need to affect some more subtle techniques. I did do a show recently about how to expose a narcissist or sociopath, but without getting your hands dirty. So feel free to check that out. It's back in my library here. It's archived. You can check it out right here on Spreaker. And I recommend that you do that if you're dealing with somebody who is not a family member, who is like in a position of authority in relation to you, or in a position, like, let's say that they're a pastor at the church, they're a local official, they're a boss, something like that. That's when I think you should use the method that I suggest on the episode of this show, wherein we're discussing how to expose a cluster B person without getting your hands dirty and without looking like you've done anything at all. They've done it to themselves. Your hands are clean. Nobody knows better, right? Nobody is any the wiser. So check that episode out. I will try to link it here later on if I don't get wrapped up in my next appointment or what have you. I've been known to do that. So I do like the connection contract method, which is the next level up. And as long as the person is not in a position of just abject, complete, and utter authority over you, then it is totally possible to make this method work for you. And essentially, this is something that one of the most renowned psychological professionals in the United States recommends. This is an excellent method. I definitely has my seal of approval. Not that anybody needs it, but it does, just FYI. And I think that it works well because, A, you're predicting the person's behavior. You're basically saying to this narcissist or the sociopath in your family, you're saying, hey, Bob, let's say Bob, cousin Bob, I know that odds are, okay, Bob, that you're going to end up saying something disrespectful to me at a family function. Like, Bob, I'm sorry, I know you. Odds are this is going to happen. Bob, if I hear, I'd like to see you, you're my cousin and I love you. But if I hear disrespectful language, if I hear anything disparaging about me or anybody that I love, okay, if I hear swearing, yelling, if I see drunkenness, because drunkenness and being high on substances is a hallmark of narcissists and sociopaths. So you're going to say something like that, like, Bob, if I hear disrespectful language, that means anything that disparages me or anybody that I love. You have to spell it out for them like they're a 6-year-old. Remember, their brain has not formed like everyone else's. So if I hear any of that, if I hear swearing, if I hear yelling, if I see fighting or arguing, if I see excessive intake of alcohol, if I see drunkenness or substance abuse, or I suspect that there is drunkenness or substance abuse afoot, that's going to have to be my cue to go ahead and leave at that time. So, Bob, I'd really like to see you. You're my cousin and I love you. And heck, you may really not. You may be dreading seeing cousin Bob, but you want to be a good family member. You don't want to rock the boat too much. So you're going to just, short email or text, send one to cousin Bob before you see him next. If I may suggest you may want to send it to him like a couple of weeks before you think you might see him next. Don't send it to him a year before you're going to see him, and certainly don't send it like the day you're going to see him, because then he'll be extra pissed. But give him some time to settle down about it and to start, getting into that strategic, sociopathic, narcissistic mindset. Give him some time for his cluster B personality disorder to start kicking in. And what you're going to want to do is be very non-emotional, be very matter of fact, be very upfront. Again, you're going to want to kind of kill him with kindness, even if you're not feeling Bob at all and you have no interest in seeing Bob a day in your life, and any day without Bob in it is what you call a good day. You're still going to want to say to Bob, hey, you know what, Cousin Bob, I really do love you. We're family. I'd like to be able to see you now and again. And I'd like for us to be able to get along in a respectful and healthy way. So here's what I'm going to need from you. And here are the behaviors that are not going to sit well with me. And these are below are listed the behaviors and situations that are going to send me right out the door. And, you need to make sure that when you send this, again, that you do it with that sort of loving kindness mentality, even if you're not feeling it. And you definitely need to adhere to it. So, of course, Cousin Bob doesn't want to have his behavior predicted, and that's going to work in your favor. Bob's going to say, well, who are you to tell me how I'm going to act? Well, of course you know how he's going to act. He's a narcissist. Narcissists are working from the same script. Their behavior's rote. You're not going to get anything new from them. They don't have new material. They just keep recycling the same old crap. So, of course, you can predict his behavior, but he doesn't like to hear that. So that's going to throw him for a loop. That's really going to throw him off. And I really like that. That's a great tactic to use. And then, of course, just the way a narcissist or sociopath would sort of throw the, hey, aren't we family thing in your face, you're going to put it right on him before he can even say a darn word about it. You're going to say, Bob, we're family. We need to be able to get along, don't we? Boom. You've predicted his behavior. You've taken him down a notch. You've kind of clipped his wings. You've just predicted everything that he's going to do. And he's like, oh my God, she has predicted my entire repertoire. Oh, whoa, back to the drawing board. I'd better straighten up and fly right, at least during this family encounter. I don't want to have him or her be right about my behavior. Whoa. So, of course, their narcissism or sociopathy is going to work in your favor in that instance. So, I think that's a great method to employ. It's particularly good if this is somebody that you're not going to be seeing, every day of your life. If it's an elderly parent or a child that you're living with, or God forbid, a sibling that you're living with as an adult, you're going to have a little bit of a problem on your hands, because what are you going to do? Walk out of the house and let them claim that territory every single time they treat you badly? That ain't punishment, folks. That's a reward. So please keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind going forward. It's so important to know what specific methods are appropriate in different situations. So that leads me to the final method of dealing with a family member who's on the cluster B spectrum. That means a family member that is a narcissist, a sociopath, borderline personality disordered, or histrionic. And that final method, of course, is no contact. Now, no contact is where now, of course, if you live in the same house, again, you're going to have trouble. So what you're going to want to do if you implement it, if you live with somebody in the same house, you're going to want to act as you normally do as you are getting together a plan to leave. Then the day you leave, when you take all your stuff, everything's gone, you don't need to go back into that house, that's when you close the door on them. That's when that vault closes. With everybody else, if it's somebody you don't live with or don't have to see as often, it's very straightforward. So obviously you can't enact no contact with somebody you live with, a husband or a wife, for instance, an aging family member like a mother or a father, a child. That's not going to work. So you do actually have to make arrangements to get out of that house, out of that situation. And, if you are raising a narcissistic child, I am so sorry for you. That is a really tough situation. And I'd say the best thing you can do is just draw boundaries with them. And I hate to say this, but you may not want to consider having family pets if you have someone like that in your home, because these folks are actually known to dislike and even harm animals. But if you're not living with this person and no contact is an option for you, what you do is, I think it's appropriate, if this person isn't going to be like banging on your door in half an hour drunk or something, and you know that they won't do that, I think it is appropriate to give them a final kind of send off. Like, hey, I'm really sorry that things didn't work out. I do wish that you could have respected my boundaries and we could have seen eye to eye a little bit better. So sorry things didn't work out. No hard feelings. Best to you. I'm closing the door now. Good luck. However, if you do think that this is somebody who's going to, like I said, show up on your doorstep in 15 minutes high or drunk, then no, don't do that. What you need to do, if that's the sort of person you're dealing with, and it may or may not be, there are definitely varying degrees of narcissism and sociopathy. So if that's the kind of person you're dealing with, you're just going to shut that iron curtain. You're going to put up the cone of silence. You're going to just discontinue any contact. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that if they have a key to your place, you change the locks, of course, first and foremost. Smartest thing you can do. Then you're going to want to go ahead and delete them from social media. Yes, that means blocking. You're going to hear about it from them, or at least other family members are going to hear about it and probably confront you about it. But sorry, this is what you have to do for your own protection. You're going to block them off on all social media. That means if they have more than one account on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, Instagram, you systematically block off each of their accounts. Each and every account. Block them off. Don't just unfriend them, block them. That's going to give you a lot of peace of mind. What you're going to do next is you're going to take your phone, open it up, go to phone or settings, depending on what kind of a phone you have. You're going to block their number so that you cannot receive texts or calls from them. Now, of course, that leaves in-person interactions and email. So, unfortunately, there are email service providers like Google that just, there's no option to block. So, if that is what you're looking at, I would say if you feel strong enough to do this, just delete their emails as they come in. Don't even read them. Don't engage. Don't interact. Just delete them. Just delete them. Send them right to the trash bin, and then delete your trash bin, or, empty your trash bin rather, so that you're not tempted to look at it or respond. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. You really don't need that kind of negativity in your life. So that's what you're going to do. When they realize that the jig is up and you're not going to respond to them anymore, at some point, they are actually going to wind down and stop contacting you. Now, they are going to come back later at some point and try to reconnect with you. They're going to try to triangulate. They're going to try to hoover you back in. And yes, they are going to use other family members and other mutual friends and connections to do it. So the best thing to do when you've gone no contact and there are other friends and family members and acquaintances saying, hey, cousin Bob is so upset that you blocked him on social media. Oh, give poor cousin Bob a chance. Cousin Bob is down on his luck, yada, yada, yada. You're going to say, gosh, I'd really like for you to respect my choice not to talk to or about cousin Bob. I'd sure like to be able to continue speaking with you, so I hope that you'll be able to choose to respect that. Boom. There you go. That person basically has to either shut up about Bob, or they can't talk to you and be a part of your life until they have developed an ability to respect where you're at. Simple as that. I know it's not an easy thing to say to somebody you love, to say, hey, I love you and I'd really like to keep talking to you, but I'm not going to talk to or about Bob, and I certainly do not expect to see Bob whenever you and I are together. I'll be very upset if I see Bob, and I will have to disengage. So it's hard to say that to somebody, especially a family member who you love, but you have to. If this person is being recruited as a flying monkey, and they are, if they're saying, oh, poor Bob is so upset, can't you find it in your heart to give Bob another chance? Then you basically know that, unfortunately, that person has been recruited as a flying monkey, and you're going to have to give them that ultimatum. I hate to tell you, because I'm not one for ultimatums, but in this case, it is what it is. So be prepared to do that to a few friends and family members along the way. Anybody who is a healthy person who really does love you and respect you will respect your decision, even if they don't agree with it, and will not engage in talk behind your back with Bob. If you find that this person is engaging in talk about you with the narcissist, with the sociopath in your family, I think it's time to pull back from this person a bit and show them that you're totally serious about your boundaries and that you are not going to allow anybody to sabotage this choice that you have made for your own health and well-being. So these are the three main ways to deal with a narcissist or a sociopath in your family: gray rock, a connection contract, or no contact. And again, as we covered, gray rock is sort of a topping or an appetizer. It ain't the meal. So you don't want to just employ gray rock and not employ any other techniques. Gray rock is great in addition to other techniques, whether it be, outing the person, but in the way that I've laid out. Please don't just out them by telling everybody they're a sociopath or a narcissist. So you're either by outing this person or encouraging them to out themselves, or by going no contact, or by having a connection contract. So you can sort of add gray rock onto any of those possibilities. But gray rock is not the only way to go, in my opinion, at least, because, like I said, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Now, let's talk really briefly about possible cons for no contact. Obviously, we addressed one of the cons, which is flying monkeys. Of course, support personalities, as I call them, or flying monkeys, will be, at your door, knocking, saying, hey, why aren't you talking to Cousin Bob? Oh, poor Cousin Bob. So that's really unfortunate. And another sort of unfortunate side effect is that you're likely going to have to let go of a couple of those people who have chosen to act as flying monkeys, because clearly they can't and won't respect where you're coming from, and they can't and won't respect your decision to stay healthy and do what's best for you. So It may be that you're going to have to part ways with a couple of these folks. And it's likely that they'll come back later on and they may have sort of recovered from their stupor, and it's possible that you'll be able to reconnect with them later on. I'm not going to guarantee it, but it's possible, especially when it's family. Another possible con is that, of course, whenever anybody is being targeted by anyone on the cluster B spectrum, there's going to be a smear campaign involved. I'm sorry there's no way to avoid it. I wish there was some genius way around it. I haven't found it if there is, and nor has anybody else. But there is going to likely be a smear campaign going on about you. So you've got to be able to not care or rationalize your choice in some way to yourself. Do whatever you need to do to keep yourself healthy and well, and to make yourself feel warm at night. You don't need to blame yourself for any of this because it's not your fault. So whatever you need to tell yourself, however you need to rationalize it, you do what you need to do. Just make sure that you are aware that there is going to be a smear campaign. And there are going to be flying monkeys. Depending on how big your family is, there may be quite a few flying monkeys, there may be just a couple, or there may be none. Because it's just you and your parents. In which case, possibly family friends will be brought into the mix. But just keep that in mind, that you may have to make some tough choices about the flying monkeys, and that there will definitely be a smear campaign going on. Now, this is still likely even if you choose the gray rock method, even if you choose to expose the person in an appropriate way, and even if you choose to do a connection contract with the person. It's possible still that, and likely even, that there is going to be some sort of just a campaign going on behind your back where this person is making weird claims and weird generalizations about you. They're putting their stuff, they're projecting all of their stuff onto you. So just be aware that this is going to happen. But while you're staying aware, I want you to know that you don't have to listen to it. And you certainly don't have to buy into it, because they want you to buy into it. That's what gaslighting is. They're trying to convince you that you are the one in the wrong by way of other people and what they're telling other people. So don't buy into it. I mean, stay away from it. And it, like I said, if people start bringing up, well, cousin Bob said this about you, is this true? You just say, I have no comment on the matter. And as I mentioned before to you already, I'm going to choose not to talk about cousin Bob, because cousin Bob is not here to be part of the discussion, and because I'm not comfortable doing so. So thank you for respecting that. And if they can't respect it, then that is your cue to move on. So those are the major cons, but really a smear campaign and or flying monkeys are not something that should deter you from doing what's healthy for you and what's right for you. So I hope that this has helped. Remember that you do have a couple of options at any time that you can turn to and that you can use. You are not without your own way to fight back. And you're not alone. So keep that in mind. You're not alone. And please remember, at all times, you are not the only one this is happening to. So although it makes you sad that other people are having to go through this as well, at least you can be sure that you are not the only one. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not the only one going through this. You're okay. All right? You're good. I've got you, and you've got you. You've got your back. You're doing what's right for you. So the only other piece of advice I'm going to give you tonight is to build a network of support for yourself. So sure, you're not going to be finding support personalities like the narcissist or sociopath is, but you are going to be recruiting people who support your healthy lifestyle, your healthy choices for yourself, and who support you getting back to feeling good and getting out of a place of abuse and of an abusive, narcissistic cycle of behavior, right? So people who really love you and respect you will love and respect you even once you have made the choice to abandon dear cousin Bob. They're going to love you and respect you and support you in whatever you do. And they may or may not agree with your choices, but that is not your problem. Your only concern is that you are pulling people around you who do love and support you. And I think it's really easy to do, but I think a lot of us who have to build that network, but a lot of us who have been through narcissistic and sociopathic abuse tend to sort of have that CPTSD, and we just don't see that there are people out there that want to support us, who love us, who want to be there for us. And it's so important that we check ourselves and that we realize that we are not, lone soldiers or lone cowboys or something, that there are actually people out there who love and support us. So find whoever those people are for you. And you know what? Again, you're not alone. Good luck. You can do this.